Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined as always by Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we've got 8 games here to end the week for you guys here on just this short slate, short day of games here after the All-Star break. We are going to be talking about the Kings and the Clips in this one. Also got another game video and our player props that we are staying hot with you guys on. So make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Also want you to head to thelines.com. You can check out all of our great written content there and use that odds finder tool that we have up there. Nate has that great page up there, so you can make sure you're getting the best odds available from all the U.S. sportsbooks, giving you guys bets this season. Nate, let's go ahead and jump into this 8-game slate and then talk Clips and Kangs.
Yeah, the line staff actually has a few different guys picking props now. So you can check out multiple options there, not just our opinion, but we are hitting at a good rate on those player props. Tune in for that one. Getting into the lines here, 8-game slate Friday night. Knicks are -2 at Washington. The Heat +1.5 at the Bucks, who are going to be without Giannis for a little bit here. Cavs are +1.5 on a back-to-back here in Atlanta, fresh off the firing of Nate McMillan. Other game we break down, Bulls are -2 at home against the Nets, who have yet to win a road game since without Kyrie and KD. I will say again. Hornets +5.5 at the Wolves. Thunder +6.5 at Suns. Thunder coming off an overtime game in Utah. Rockets are +10 at the Warriors. And then we have Clips -7 at home with the Kings on a back-to-back here. Total's been bet up to 237.5. It might keep climbing. And I am looking at that first and foremost here, looking to go under again. And it's scary for multiple reasons. I mean, number one, the Clippers have the most efficient offense in the league over their last 14, scoring nearly 120 a game despite playing at a 95 pace in that span. Are holding opponents to 113, so that would still get us under. But the Kings' averages are obviously much higher. I mean, they are the highest scoring team in the NBA this year, and their back-to-backs in 9 situations have averaged 244. They've been really shootout heavy. I mean, there is some skewed numbers in there, like an overtime game with Dallas, like a game in Philly that was also like an overtime and a crazy style. But look, on the road, the Kings are a different team. And so this is more about trusting the Clippers defense at home and what they've done recently against the Kings, and not trusting the Kings offense to be as prolific on the road. It's like an 8-point per game drop off. And what they do well, I mean, they're 10th in 3-point percentage on the year, but it's 25th on the road. And LAC, the 9th best 3-point defense. Kings in scoring inside the arc. They're 3rd on the road in that department, 2-point percentage. Again, the Clippers are 9th in that. I mean, 5 straight unders on the road, 19-9 to the under on the season for the Kings on the road. They were way under in 5 straight. Then they had a couple overs, 2 of them against Houston, 1 against the Pels for an outlier game, and then they go hella under against Phoenix in their last one. And also the Clips, their last game we saw before the break against Phoenix. Great defense against a Suns team that has Devin Booker back at his full powers and Paul and Ayton and all their weaponry. And the Kings, I mean, they're coming off a great showing against Portland. No defense there, but their last 5 against the Clippers have gone under. I mean, they smacked them last time because it was another one of those Clippers punt games where Amir Coffey was starting, no disrespect. Brandon Boston Jr. as well, like his game, but not their usual starters. No Kawhi or PG. In game 2 this season, they had PG, who went off for, I think, a season-high 40. De'Aaron Fox also goes off for 36, only missed 8 field goals. And that game still only gets to 220 in Sacramento, by the way. So that is the complete opposite of the splits we're looking at, where the Clippers are excellent at defense at home. Kings offense drops. Both teams also shot 40% from 3. So I'm just looking at the way these two teams play each other and much more so than the fact that the last time we saw the Clippers face a team on a back-to-back, it was the Warriors. They dropped 134. Look, the Warriors are playing shootouts with everybody. The Kings are playing shootout with a lot of people, but when you look at those 5 unders in a row on the road and how consistently they've gone under, when they play a good defense that can line them up a little bit, these games definitely tend to go under.
Yeah, I'm with the under a bit on this one. I know it's a bit scary, and the Clips have scored a few points here and there, in their recent matchups with a few different teams. But not to the tune of this many points. I mean, that Warriors game when they were at home, the Warriors maybe they're somewhat comparable to the Kings in terms of not playing defense on the road, but not to not as bad as the Warriors, in my opinion, to be honest. I think there's something to be said for the pace that these teams play at. Obviously, we kind of throw away the last game they played, like you said, no Kawhi, no Paul George. It's just a different game. But in the last roughly like 15 games, that's I think the best sample size that we have. And Kawhi's played in almost all those, I believe it, as well as Paul George. There might have been one game in there that they missed, but either way, when they're both in there at that point, 10-4, we talk about that, and the scores in these games, they just rarely get up to that level, to that score when they're at home, especially unless they're playing a team that they're just completely blowing out, like the Spurs or the Warriors, who don't do anything close to defense on the road. But I think the Kings and the way that they play on the road is huge here. That it's a little bit more about their lack of offense than anything. There is something to be said about when they're worse on offense, at times it looks like they're also better on defense, because they were able to limit some of those blowouts. But in this one, I think we just rely on the fact that the Clippers and the way that they're playing right now is a little bit more controlled. Now, we should throw in the fact that Russell Westbrook is likely going to play for them tonight, and that's my segue from saying they've been playing a little bit more controlled basketball to I don't know what's going to happen now with Russell Westbrook. I personally don't think I will be betting on this one, but if I were, I would be actually leaning towards the Kings to cover 7 points at this point, just because I think that's a little bit too great for the unknown that we have with this Clippers team and what's going to happen with Russell Westbrook. Especially what's going to happen to our boy Terrence Mann, who has become a show favorite as he's been hitting his low prop totals that he's been getting repeatedly, and we can't even find it right now as we record this the morning of the game because of this sort of uncertainty around Russell Westbrook. Not that whether or not he's going to play, it seems like he will, but just where is he going to fit in? It seems like he might start, but if he does, then he's taking Terrence Mann's new starting role as a point guard that I think he's actually getting a lot better at in his last roughly 4 or 5 games, in terms of knowing when to actually like score and take over rather than trying to get assists. And that's something that's going to get disrupted mightily unless Russ plans to come off the bench and just play a little bit more with that second unit. And then that leaves Terrence Mann sort of clean and free to play with the starters and do his thing that he's been doing. So if that's the case, then I feel a lot better about the Clips' chances in this one. But 7 points just seems too high in a game where I agree with you that there's going to be a bit less scoring. And if anything, then that does give the Kings a chance to kind of hang around and in a sloppier looking game.
Yeah, sloppy. And that's a great transition to talking about Westbrook. I should have mentioned in the intro, of course, that's a huge wrench to throw into this whole projection situation where we just don't know if he's going to start. Ty Lue's been very tight-lipped about what his role is going to be. Will he push the pace more? The Clippers playing at about a 95 pace. Lakers were at like a 105 pace with Westbrook on the floor. Will that second unit be efficient, or will he muck things up and miss a ton of shots? It is kind of a big unknown. I think he'll come out with his hair on fire. I think he has a lot to prove. I can't wait to take his props when he plays the Lakers. I think the Clips will let him kind of go a little bit more because there's just not strong personalities, Kawhi and PG. And if Russ wants to just jump in and try to be an alpha all of a sudden, they might be okay with that in some regular season games. So I do think he was going to help them. I worry a little bit about the Kings after such an easy matchup last night against no Dame, maintaining their efficiency. I do think they can get blown out here. But I would rather have the Clippers at -3 than the Kings at +11 is basically my take on that, on who's going to win the game. Because the Clips, I mean, they're looking like a championship contender. They were before this big deal, which is, could tip the scales a lot. Or Westbrook might only play like 18 minutes in like a really bit role, and they continue doing what they're doing. But either way, they have a lot more talent than the Kings. And this is another futures outlook. We talked about the Clippers passing them in the standings, about the Clippers winning this division and just finishing strong. And all those things can happen starting tonight in the first of 2 matchups with the Kings in their next 5. I do think they're going to win both of those to kind of assert their status and get up to that 3rd seed.
God, I hope you're right, because I definitely laid some wood on the +390 for them to win the Pacific Division right before we came back from the All-Star break a few days ago. And so that would be lovely for me. And the more I think about it, the more when you said Westbrook might only play like 18 minutes, like I actually could really see that happening. Like, how awesome is it for the Clips that the Lakers are just, they're not paying Russell Westbrook $40 million, right? They're going to be paying him basically like a veteran minimum and have him on their team while he's just getting tens of millions of dollars from other teams. I think that feels pretty good for the Clips. And in the end, I might actually agree with them picking him up just under that pretense. But we'll see what happens when he's in there, and we'll see if they're still on the run that we think they are. This is a huge game if they are going to win that Pacific Division and make a play and a legitimate run in that Western Conference. So that is all the time we have for you, though, in this one. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Also got our player props up for you today. So want you guys to continue to follow along there. And until we see you next, happy betting.